Hi, folks. Nick Tucker here with the Historical Fencing Guild. Well, folks, thanks for the patience. I'm going to wait a bit for our good friends to start rattling in, but while we're waiting for the people who are viewing this either now or in the near future, we're going to talk about our main sponsors. That being The Simple Sword by Nicholas Tucker. This, folks, is where my abbreviated, easy-to-learn, low-cost, simple approach to learning how to sword fight. This is the first volume. I am working on the second. It is available at Amazon and will be in the links when I'm done with this. Just look up Nicholas A. Tucker under the Amazon authors page. Now, we've got one viewer. I appreciate you. As always, please hit the like button wherever it shows up on your screen. And woo, can down. And if you have questions, comments, let me know where you're on. I am, as always, watching through the YouTube Messenger. And for the folks who don't like to message through YouTube, I will be on my Facebook Messenger addressing questions, comments, etc. And we're going to go from there. All right, this is a really great week because I actually have a whole sheet of questions and commentary from people who've responded on the Guild channel about what they want to know. So I have material to work with. I am going to try to wait till the questioners being the amazing Cindy Kep, who is one of my patrons. I am funded entirely by patrons. Thank you for the like, folks. Ads and my sales, which I keep my sales as low as Amazon will basically let me, given the materials I am doing. Pardon the breeze and the slight helicopter noise. Once again, it is well in the 80s, and this room is not properly air conditioned. So we have the choice of relative quiet or no quiet whatsoever and small running child. Well, we'll figure we'll go with that. I've got some goodies for you today. Let me see. Whoop, that's that. That's that. That's this. Cool. So part of what we're going to talk about is some low-cost entry things. We're going to answer some questions about, okay, Nick, I love sword fighting. I want to learn how to sword fight. I don't have anybody around. There's this whole pandemic disaster thing rolling around, and people really can't socialize. I'm also apparently going to squirt my beverage of choice all over myself, pretty much for your amusement. So, one thing I get often, and this ties into the commentary, but they say, Nick, I want to train. I can't afford. Pardon me. I had to work a little late, and it's dusty. That's what happens when you're a librarian, even with the mask. I can't afford the gear. Now, we are in a situation where training isn't really combative a lot of times. You're learning to drill, teaching your body what I consider better motion. Slow practice towards consistency. This is where you would drill in the mirror. One of the questions we have this week, and I hope Cindy's here. Cindy, if you're here, let me know, because I don't want you to miss and have to come back. But they were asking about how do you drill when nobody's around? And that is one of the hardest things for any martial arts practitioner when you're forced to solo, because as I am very fond of saying and well known for, I am not a big fan of just solo practice. I don't really like katas because too often it trains a song, not the notes. Sword fighting should be much more improvisational. Oh, that sounds terrible. No. You have to learn some rules to break them. I'll admit it. But you'll have to you have to be willing to break out of patterns and not get trapped in what you're doing. Now, one thing that was, I'm there, but not where I can comment. Oh, hey, Cindy just messaged, I'm here, but I'm not where I can comment. My tablet doesn't let me. I'll be on her. That's fine. That's wonderful. Okay, since Cindy's here, I can address some of her questions. She gave me a lot of great questions. I'm just going to type in case, well, obviously she can hear me and I can't hear her, so I guess. Anyway, One thing that people got is I don't have gear, and I was challenged how cheaply could I make a sword simulating object, a trainer. Hi John. John Miner's here too. How cheaply could I get something to drill? And this is actually not mine. This is the one my son made under my guidance. And what this is a wooden training sword that at the time was scaled nicely to him. To me, it is about parry dagger length. It's a little short for it, but it works. What this is made out of is this stuff. This is called wood lath or lathe, depending on who you talk to. Whose speech impediment where, I don't know. But you can get this little stick that's about a quarter of an inch thick and about an inch and a quarter wide, maybe a little inch and a half. I have to double check, but you can get this at like Menards for 25 cents in a 4-foot piece. Okay. With that and some very simple hand tools, you can make one of these. When I say simple hand tools, this was done all by hand tools, because I don't allow my son to use power tools. But we used a hand saw in a miter box, but a little mini miter box. You can pick those up for like $5. And he actually used a bit and brace, which is what we drill with, because again, I don't want him to use power tools, but I want him to be understanding of tools, and I like quiet tools. To drill some holes the diameter of the wood, then I took my knife and I cut the middle piece out, shoved it on, and glued on 2 more narrow pieces of this. This made a very, very cheap, very rudimentary little sword. But it has an edge. You can actually bang them together a bit. You can I wouldn't thrust a lot with them, but it's enough. And it's doable with 25 cents worth of materials. The glue maybe you want to add a penny for the glue out of the thing, really. But, and maybe $5 worth of tools. And you can crank these out all day. So, one of the questions I got actually was from Stephanie. And Stephanie wanted to know, let me get her exact wording. I printed it out. I'm incredibly nearsighted. Hush. Okay. Not that. Not that. Where did it go? DIY, Common Goose, dueling etiquette. Okay, she wanted to know how to practice. Okay, drills and techniques one can practice at home while we can't practice with others because of social distancing. Wonderful. Believe it or not, this channel was originally created to be a source for just that. So if you go all the way to the first video I did several years ago, it's in vertical format. I'm sorry, it was, your first video, you make mistakes. And it's just a walkthrough of the basic drills. And guess what? If you put that on a phone and you put a cheap mirror in front of you and you roughly do that, you will have a wonderful basic set of drills. It's almost like I built my system around being able to learn it mostly by yourself. You can apply it together, obviously, but in a way that's simple and easy and that you can take your time. Because the trick, I believe in taking a very Tai Chi approach, and I think John can attest to the value of this. Learn, move slow, learn fast. Okay? And most people, especially people with injuries, can move slow. So you move slow, and that way you can control. You can stop and come back. And you do the same motion, very slow, very repetitive, very controlled, to teach muscle memory so that eventually when you need to do it fast, you pop right up to the exact same spots that that you would otherwise. It sounds, people want this whole, there's this mythos of secret moves and secret techniques and shortcuts. And the only way to get anything, the only way to do anything is to do it, put in the hours, put in the attention, and grow from it. It's just like growing food. You learn how your body moves, and then you learn how to move it with a weapon. Exactly. Now, the way I took my fencing approach is actually when I drill a variant of my drills where I chain the motions together, hybrided with some elements I've taken from Tai Chi that I've done over the years and a few other sports that I've used as a way of conditioning my body and finding out I don't know what my condition is. What I mean is there is something that's kind of mechanically wrong with me, and we're still trying to figure it out. But that means I have good days, I have kind of good days, and I have bad days. And on any given day, I'm gonna stretch, I'm gonna train, I'm gonna work my way through to the best of my ability. And one neat thing in here that Cindy, I believe, accommodations for common issues like visual audio impairment, tendinitis. I'm not sure what CTS is, but mobility problems, etc. Okay? Believe it or not, if we crack open my book, and it'll take me a second to find it because I've been working on the other book and looking in my notes, not my organized book, and it helps if it's upside up. Oh, fine. Here's an author's tip. Read your book upside up. It really helps. But I have to find the section on training with a bad day. Let's see. I think I put it in with the working with a cane because I use a sticker sheath, selecting your stick. Okay. I have a section. If you look up, it's in page 60 of your text. And this really is the text. And what basically, you should, as long as you're capable of doing anything, do something. And what I have built in here is that what you have to do is you want to train, as long as it's safe, as long as you're not hurting yourself, you're not, let me put it this way, you're not injuring yourself. To people who are fully functional, they don't understand the difference necessarily between bad pain and normal pain. People with conditions know that it's going to hurt anyway. Okay, that's the reality. Pain. I have a whole rant on the glory that is pain, but there's pain that is damaging you and pain that is simply going to be there. And for people with certain injuries and conditions, you have to work through it. A lot of it is knowing what you move, how you move, and adapt. Now, this is different from the visual and audio adaptation, which is all very valid, but I'm kind of throwing that aside for a moment to talk about physical limitations. First, you have to learn to do what you can do. One of my great, I claim one of my sword masters, a man by the name of Dennis Yakis, who, though I had differences with later, I still respect everything he taught me, had limited mobility due to rheumatoid arthritis. And what he did is he developed a style that based around what he could do. And a lot of arthritis, fibro. Yeah, John's listing some of his things. And it gave, working with him over the years, gave me a certain level of no excuse. If my right hand is spazzing as it's doing it, maybe it's closing up, because it'll do that. I have nerve damage. This whole arm is messed up. Then I either fight lighter weapons, or I cock it funny, or I fight offhand with a shield in this hand. You adapt. The first thing to know is what can you do? So if on a bad day, let's say I could only, I had a limited range of motion. Get in a mirror, find out where that range of motion is. Develop your style around that range of motion. Okay? And like I talk about in the book, you're going to have days where you just feel great. They do sometimes happen. And you work through them, and you drill and you do everything you can, and then you drill like you're having a bad day. Okay? You always drill part of it like you're having a bad day. And maybe you're having a day where a little bit's acting up. People have watched my videos a lot. One thing I get dinged on by some more experienced viewers is they'll be like, your footwork is really weird. Why aren't you bending that right knee, for example? A lot of times I'm not. So especially in some of my earlier videos, or if you ever see me fighting with a cane and it's down, that right leg may not bend. So I've learned to adjust my footwork and how to move so that I can do just about everything I do without having to bend that right knee. It's part of why I detest lunges with such a passion. I don't like extreme movements, and I don't like sharp movements. What do I mean by sharp movements? The difference between somebody who studied a softer art, this is more kung fu, and that's a much broader term than you want to think about, but we'll say Tai Chi. We'll use Tai Chi because, yes, it can be used combatively. Not always. Don't do what I do. Do what's possible for you. Well, yes, John. And that's part of it, too. But, and that's why sometimes I'll be like, I will demonstrate a set of footwork. I'll say, this is how, because I can fake it for a while. You should move basically if you can. Now, it is funny how many of my students have picked up a slight bit of a lovingly known pimp walk because enough imitation of me has shown that it's kind of funny. But my point, with a soft art, you always want to stop before the extreme. What I mean is the elbow can only bend straight. Okay, I have to be careful so people don't get any ideas of the wrong gesture here. Hence the reason my hand's like it is. Okay. If I want to do something, the equivalent of a chop, a downward strike. Now, if you watch me, all my motions stop before the lock point, okay? That's because slamming into the lock point is really hard on your joints. And when you have people who've studied hard arts that are very jerky, very snap motion, that can be very damaging for you in the long run. And a lot of it is you look at how the guys who do it move in their old age, if they can. Like, a lot of the Shadokan karate guys end up parked in horse stance at almost all times. If you watch it, which is funny, but very upright, very square. And there's a twist in their back. There's a twist to their posture. You'll see this. You want to see something funny? Look at the muscular development of a collegiate fencer who doesn't offset. You'll see this right arm is all bulked up. The right leg that powers the lunge, catch, and retrieve is just bulked up compared to the left. That is a sort of training scar. And that's the development of the style. What I try to seek is something that will make works with the way my body works. Somebody asked Musashi, how should you move when you're fighting? How should you walk? And he's like, you should walk. And I was like, wait a second, Nick. You say, when you start, don't cross your feet and give this whole box step kind of thing. Yes. And the reason I do that is because most people, in all honesty, can't tell their left foot from the right foot when they're walking. That's why they trip over things. And you have to be aware, okay? So I give you these rules so that later you can outgrow them. It's like you start a seed in a little seed cup, right? You let it get big enough it can hold its own, and then you transplant it. That's what a lot of what I do. So almost everything I teach, I try to edge towards being easier on the joints. It's why, for example, I'm so big on scale your weapon to you. John Miners can come in here. John Miner is 6 foot like lots because he tends to wear big boots, which doesn't make it fair. So it makes him like 6'7". You got to imagine freaking Hagrid. Okay. Hagrid can fence with a telephone pole. Okay. A caber is his walking stick, That's fine. But I also have worked with, little girls, this high on me. Like, hi, you're actually shorter than I am. That means this may actually be close to a proper sized sword for them. This is for a short sword, this is actually great length for me at parry dagger, which a lot of people will make fun of, because if I am using a reverse elbow, I have that nice protrusion. And I've dabbled with enough styles that things like that matter to me. So the first thing is your weapon should be scaled to you. Your style should be scaled to you. Don't worry about what other people can do. There are people who come out and parkour across the field. Triple flip. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, what are you going to do? I'm not going to do jack nor poop until they're close enough for me to stab them. Or them for, or me to be stabbed. Hi, Cindy. Can't move like I used to. When you do cross your feet, you need to know balance recovery moves. Exactly. And I'm not in the business of teaching high-end mastery. And that's one thing, I will shock some of you people later by using the 3 hardest words for a man to say, I don't know. Because I actually got some questions that I am not comfortable, as is pontificating too far on. I can put you in directions, and I can front you to the next person who might know more, or give you some source materials to chase that lead a bit. But if it's outside of my strengths, I'm not going to admit it. Oh, carpal tunnel. Okay, carpal tunnel's really, really cool. Okay, carpal tunnel isn't cool, but I can work with that. One of the best things for carpal tunnel is, if you're going to fence, you want light weaponry, and you want orthopedic customized grips. At the high end, it would be something more like a pistol grip, like you see in sport fencing, where you can grab like this, and the motion is in a different place, or it might not. It depends on how it manifests. A simple way, actually, and I've got close to have an example, is a curved grip that's going to, here, let me do this, sorry. Let your hand curl around and sit naturally pointed perhaps a little more aggressively, okay? So that you don't necessarily have to bend at the wrist if that's where it's weak, okay? By rotating the grip from here, let me see, that's my angle, cool. Let me get close. From here to here, I'm presenting the knife much more aggressively, much more easy to fight without having to make an adjustment in my grip. That's why Count Dooku's lightsabers were curved in real life. It was to help Christopher Lee with his orthopedics. It was an orthopedic grip. They made some neat mythos around it, and I love it, but it really came down to being able to put the knife at the angle it needs to be with what you have. That's part of the reason why Count Dooku will always be my favorite Star Wars swordsman. Period. Hard stop. So yeah, a grip like this orthopedically gives you, imagine the sword just keeps going up, but the grip is very curved and pistol. That lets you do things that maybe you couldn't with a natural watch. Okay. Without a grip. There's another box. Okay, like this. Okay? That's part of why I like keyhole grips, is I don't trust these 2 fingers. They occasionally lock up. They occasionally just stop working. I have nerve damage here that radiates, and here that radiates, splits my hand right in half, and I'll tell you, there are days where I would swear on a stack of Bibles I have a needle that runs right through here. It's red hot. Wake me up in the middle of the night. I'm not sleeping. I get to watch cartoons for a while. A lot of it's just, what adaptation do you need to make? Whatever adaptation you need. Pick a style that works with it. Pick an approach that works with it. Your needs come first to do the job. And if any group's like, well, that doesn't fit in our conventions, our rules, you have to have a straight sword. Tell them to bugger off and find another group. So, stylistically, and I can go through adaptions. What I have coming is I have a new laptop coming. And when my new laptop comes, it has a webcam, but YouTube will only let me live stream from a PC. It will only let me live stream from like a Windows platform right now. It won't let me live stream from my phone. I don't know why. But that's going to, when that's here, hopefully I can clear out some space and do some more DIY demonstrations, some more physical demonstrations, not just be stuck with the old tarp in the background trying to look like, the hovel of who's surviving the current apocalypse. So that's a lot of the adaptation. Now let me see what else, because I've been hammering on that. But to get back again, if you look through, I actually there's an hour-long video tucked back that I went through a fast and dirty how to fence class for a friend who was having. It's like she was worried about the stalker guy. She couldn't acquire a firearm at the time, and she needed to learn how to like sword fight now. She wanted something to defend herself. So I took my whole course, which what I prefer to teach. Minimum is 4 sessions once a week across a month. If you do your homework across a month, I can make most people functional. My old thing was I could get, with a month, 4 practices, somebody in shape and usually equipped to pass an SCA authorization. That was my old standard. And that's where I kind of live. I want to build that base and then help you find, the masters classically that you can read and alter your style, or, higher than me. Yes, there are people who know more than I do on a specific style, especially people, and direct you towards them. That was always my thing. I saw myself as a sword fighting elementary instructor, or it's more like high school. Then what John when you progress to start armoring, make sure joints have full movement and that the armor doesn't need adjustment. That's actually, John's getting ahead a little bit because, John knows the shtick pretty well by now. And he knows my take on it, so he's good at jumping ahead. Not as bad as when he taught Leto a flip shot, which I am still cheesed about. But that's because he didn't realize there was a curriculum going on. And that's playful, John. I'm not actually terribly cheesed. But what we're going to talk about now, let's see, people, because I'm going through my checklist, and what you guys don't know is there is a public group for the Historical Fencing Guild, and I asked for questions, and I got them, and then I highlighted ones that would relate. Okay, so we've got that. Cindy asked me to compare different styles, strengths, and weaknesses. For that kind of thing, give me examples you want me to work with. It's a little too broad. I could do that pretty much all day, but I need to know where you're going, okay? Dueling etiquette. Dueling etiquette is interesting. I just was reading a book. What was it? The Rules of Death. It was like Southern Dueling Standards. I'll look it up, and if I can find it, I'll put it on the guild list. Etiquette for dueling is fascinating. And one thing is, I am very much geared towards the first blood style of dueling. If one were asking me how I would teach a duel and what I would prefer if I had to, which I really don't want to, with live weapons, it would be first blood. That being, I don't want to kill somebody. Hi, Steph. Steph just waded in. Hi. Okay. But it's the duel is settled by the first one to cut. This is where my arm sniping students excel. We will get first blood because you ain't hitting us. But it really does vary by system. It's an odd, beautifully barbaric. refinement, and it's just a neat period. Okay. So I might do a whole video on that once I can put the references. I want to be able to pull out specifics and things. If that's something you guys want, comment below as always. So that, again, common goofs you see in choreography. I feel a rant coming on, and we're at the 30-minute mark, so it's a good place for the common. What's a show? It's called Legend of the Seeker. Great show. Dark and Raw was great. Pretty much everybody. Well, actually, the main guy reminded me of Jonathan. John. I can't think of his name. Had the really cute confessor, but he did the same attack. Jump through the air. Great sword back. And he'd do this big leaping thing. And just once I wanted somebody to poke. So one of my first goofs I see in choreography is when there is a elaborate motion that could easily be defeated by a simple thrust. The books were better. Yep, absolutely. Legend of the Seeker, the Sword and Truth books were absolutely better. My man James Robertson, all about that. That being said, more Sith making me happy. Moving on. But, all these great big over-the-head jumping, I'm going to stab. No. Just no. That's one of my biggest goofs. Because if you look at it and go, a simple thrust with a dagger, a simple thrust with a sword, a simple thrust with a stick. We're not going to get into swords aren't the solution. A spear would solve many of these problems. Yeah, that's ahead. That's weapon selection. Every movie that you've ever seen that looks, hold on, I'm going to arm you again briefly. Okay? 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. Are you fighting them? They're like 12 feet away. Yeah. What you doing? Patty cake. Hate that. Big word. Doing stuff to look cool that wastes time and energy. You want to annoy me? Okay. Rant my soul. I love Star Wars. Absolutely love it. Great fun. I haven't seen the last 2 movies because but great fun. Now, I know Lucas had some hang-ups about making the lightsabers heavy, and he had this whole mythos that was really weird. But if either the sword is so heavy it has to be carefully controlled, my man Obi-Wan center stance, I ain't doing stuff but either blocking or effing your world up. Fine. Or they're light enough you can be like, Hema patty cake. Yep. If they're light enough to do that, they're light enough to go, hey, thrust. And again, I know, yeah, you're a fencer. It says Historical Fencing Guild somewhere on this thing. For a reason. You stab a mother. Part of the reason I've avoided seeing the latest Star Wars movies is not to bash them. One scene, because my friends who I love to hate me, and they love to see this out of me, a good old-fashioned Nick barn-burning rant. And they sent me a link. And the link was a video, and I guess this is a spoiler, but had Rey and Kylo Swole duking it out against they look like the Emperor's personal guards or whatever. Groovy. I'm watching the fight, and they actually had to delete a lightsaber. Okay? The only way to keep from killing Rey in the movie is to have the lightsaber beam disappear and then come back later. So essentially, the dude's like, yeah. Oh, I can stab her, cut across. Whoop, turn off the lightsaber. Nobody looking, okay. Drives me nuts. Let's take breath. So I really, really hate that. I also dislike when somebody has an arming sword, okay? And this is not quite an arming sword, but it's the closest I have handy. Okay? They're dual. And as soon as the fight breaks out, they're fencing. That's not what those were made for. A long sword shouldn't move like a foil. And I understand, especially early films, a whole lot of the actors had backgrounds in fencing and, saber. Very nice, very light. But yes, if you watch the versus Imperial Guard fight, you can actually see them counting through the core. Yes. And it pains my soul. Other types of choreography I hate because we're having fun. This has to do with open-handed choreography. Kung Fu was funny, okay? In its time, it was funny. It kind of fit the era. It fit, the jump, double fist. We can all see that, and that's great. Then Next Generation did this weird thing where the answer to everything was a palm strike. Seriously, watch the Next Generation's atrocious fight scenes. Break up, wrestle. I hate the, it used to be you'd only see it when women were fighting, like the cat fight. I'm going to grab your shoulder area. You're going to grab my shoulder collar area. And we're going to throw our hair around. Then they have dudes. I'm going to throw my hair around. And we're going to... No. No. Sorry. Bad fight scenes. Like, real fighting. And I have seen, and I've experienced some real fighting in my time. It's short, it's brutal, it's not pretty usually. Like, you know what? A good way of looking at it, I love Kung Fu movies. I've always loved Kung Fu movies. Like, they used to do this whole, Sunday or Saturday afternoon lineup, where they would do, a Godzilla-style flick, and then a Kung Fu flick. And it would be like Last Fighting Snake versus the dragon, the eagle or whatever. Oh, yeah. Anything that had So High in it. If you know who So High is, you understand. Lots of drunken master stuff. Great fun. But in the really old Kung Fu movies, before Wire Fu was a thing, I'm going to get to Jason Bourne. Oh, I love my fans and I love my viewers because it's like, I'll be laying down breadcrumbs and parrying, killing thrust off the blocked weapon. Yeah, bad parries. But in the very old Kung Fu movies, before Wire Fu, when they wanted something exciting, they would zoom in on something cool. Like, I'm going to invert this into a nifty wrist lock. And you look at it and you go, hey, that's kind of cool. After Wire Fu, it all became, I am Neo. Boot comes up. No! I want to see, block, parry, elbow, something smooth, something that makes sense. You want fast? Let's get some Wing Chun going, man. The other thing that drives me bonkers, as much as I love superheroes and quasi-superheroes, mass still exists as a concept for force. And it is very, very mechanically hard for someone who weighs 100 pounds. And you take a 5 foot something, 100 pound soaking wet little girl, and she does a flying jump kick. Whew! And a 6 foot tall, 300 pound burly dude like gets G blasted over a bender. I'm going to tell you something. There isn't enough force. There isn't enough mass with speed to make force to move that object. And then you see it in real life. Whew! I've been the little guy. I had made that mistake. Push hands with weapons is a whole different thing, John. And I miss that. John and I used to have knife-based conversations. We would do push hands. We would do flows. And then we would do flows with knife trainers and little club things and semi-screama stuff. Great fun back in the day. Jason Bourne. I enjoy Jason Bourne is not perfect, obviously, but I do enjoy a lot of the concepts because a lot of the concepts Jason Bourne has are things I was brought up with, and they were things that I learned through my own study about improvisational weaponry. The Rolled Up magazine will always make me happy. Yeah, well, that was different. You're not overcoming that mass unless you get some killer initiative. Yeah. Well, John, I literally had to try it to see what would happen. In your case, because you forget, I grew up in a land where all the kids were roughly within a couple inches of you. Like, I went to school with this picket fence of giant Polish people and giant black people, a couple big Mexican dudes, and my little self. Okay? Like, go around with here. Okay? I got whooped on by big dudes. Big dudes make sense to me. I've had so many of them kick my butt that you learn through the osmosis of getting, this to face. But, yeah, it's real. And that is one of those where it has to come to your training. Now, the game changes with edged weapons. Edged weapons are game changers, and there are a couple channels out there that just make me want to rip my hair out because they're, okay, no. I still don't know who did it. I suspect it was an angry Korean man. But some angry individual who hated the world, my buddy John Miner, Tai Chi, and Korean power arts. He wants me to tell the story, so I will tell the story to make him feel better. Wave Master bag, okay? The big fat ones, I think it's Wave Master 2. Full of water. Heavy bag, 6 feet tall. Okay? This is a substantial item. My dumb butt, at the time clocking around 150 pounds. John, I'm going to punch the bag. Nick, keep it from moving. Little mirrored room, basement of PNC, now PNW for those of you who care. Holding onto this bag, wide-legged, I am properly set for a sane situation. I glance in the mirror. What do I see? I see John. Again, Hagrid. John's hand goes. Ooh. And all I can hear is, come, man. And you can watch the muscles ripple. Like, Chi Master Fong say. And Mother wide steps into a power book, launches the bag in me. I splat against the wall like a cartoon character. So yes, John, big muscles. Not fair. My point being, knife. Go back. I see these channels about guys and their MMA guys. And one of them especially is talking about self-defense a lot. He's like, I wouldn't want a knife in self-defense. Somebody breaks in, I'd rather be better with my hands. And being good with your hands is good. But learn to make a knife go. Because this is a force multiplier. Let's be honest. This isn't the tool. To talk about it, this one. Train, understand the basics of how to make a knife go. And you can defend yourself better than if you can't. And certainly better than open-handed. It is very hard for me to kill somebody open-handed. Okay? And how do you don't hit bag and base me anymore? There are people run. Yes. But okay. Time. If I'm fighting hand-to-hand, there are ways that can do fatal. There are nasty things you can do with thumbs to eyes, some throat rips, some groin rips that one can do open-handed that are fatal. Very nasty things like making somebody bleed out into the scrotum. This is not good. This is stuff I know, but I don't teach because I don't want that. That's separate from what I do usually. But still, it's very hard. Maybe a blood choke for a normal person. Now, there are some people who be like, I can kill, and I'm sure you can. I'm going from average to small person. Now, I put a knife in somebody's hand, and a whole Sherlock vision of fatal targets can open up. Every joint can be enough to bleed somebody out. Femoral artery, wrists, elbows, up into the armpit. Through the eye, up through the mouth, bad things, down to the cavities. Nasty, nasty things you can do to somebody. The Marine side and out. So, if you ever think you're going to defend yourself with a knife, train with a knife. And it doesn't take long to understand how they go. This is the sharp part. Keep it away from you. Don't let go of it. Keep it back unless you're doing bad things. People want it to be complex. It's not complex, except you got to know the timing. You got to be brave and not, and willing to do great bodily harm to somebody. And that's the hardest part. It really is hard to hurt people, and they don't talk about that enough in any of the shows. I would love to see a fight movie where the dude's sitting there just dumbstruck because he hurt people. Because a person who has a soul, I'm going to tell you, even when you defend yourself, there's going to be pain for you. Because I believe while humans are incredibly good at violence, spiritually we should try to be better. And that's why I teach defense. I don't teach how to pick out prey. I don't teach from a mentality of how to go out there and F dudes up. That's not what I'm about. That's what I'll never be about that. And anybody who teaches that, who embraces that philosophy, is just monstrous, okay? I'm the baddest mofo. I'm going to sweep the leg, destroy the knee. The win is more important than this dude's like that. Those people, they're monsters. And if that offends them, guess what? Good. If you don't like hearing that, if you think it's sour grapes, too bad. That's monstrous behavior. If you go out to take pleasure in harming others, you are mentally broken, spiritually damaged, and I pray for you, friend. Now, within the confines of a sport, within the confines of fencing, with some conventions, absolutely. Take glee in your abilities. In the real world, if you have to do something, you do it because it's necessary. And that's the horrible thing. It may, even self-defense, guys. As a Christian, I'm obligated to say, because it's true, it may be necessary, but it isn't right. Okay? Well, yeah, it's right to defend. No. It's necessary to defend your family. The right thing is to not have to. You should never have to hurt someone to keep your health together. That's not right. Okay? That's not a desirable outcome. We have aggrandized, and maybe that's part that goes in, I think, to something that bugs me about choreography. This whole, yeah, I'm super person. I've gone through and these guys. How many, if you look at TV shows, superheroes, all that stuff, how many of them are just sociopaths? I mean, they might be the best guy in the world, but they're out there like, bam! And it looks cool, and you get excited. Yeah, he messed those dudes up. But you never see, like, the henchman's retirement home, where you got the guys whose legs got bent the wrong way. And that needs to be discussed, too. And I know that might not be what most channels talk about. That's not an angle most people go to. But I find myself going there because there is a philosophy to it. And I'm always going to discuss that, because that's part of balancing the karmic debt of teaching improved violence. Okay? If I'm going to teach people to do what I teach people to do, I understand that they could misuse that knowledge. Somebody could take what I've learned from my book and hurt people with it. So I have a moral obligation to teach as much philosophy, as much peace to offset that. And I don't know if anybody else does it that way. I'm not anybody else. That's okay. But this is why I prefer to study the sword than the gun. I can make a gun go. Broadside of the barn, arrow side of the barn. We'll put it there. Maybe a bit better. Some friends are generous, but I like to keep it with that understanding. But you can only oppose with a gun. You can't ever just block and give a second chance. Because as soon as that trigger is pulled, death and destruction come out in a straight line that arcs eventually with the curvature of the world and gravity. I put my finger as a little kid on the dents where my dad was shot. Okay, where the white phosphorus burned him. Very almost a doubting Thomas kind of moment. And scar tissue from something like that's smooth, and it's almost cold. It's not as warm as the rest. And you have to think about that. And maybe, again, this might cost me viewers, it might cost me subscribers, but it's the truth. I don't ever want to hurt somebody. If somebody attacks my family, will I do everything necessary? Yeah, that's the reality. But will I have nightmares about it the rest of my life as well? Also the reality. I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but it is how it is. So we're going to move off that subject for a bit because I'm not modeling, but I got serious. Let's talk about, cool. Yeah, Cindy kept said something really neat, and we're going to get back onto that. A speculation on weapons you might use while riding a flying critter, dragon, griffin, etc. We'll start there because I need to kind of step off. Obviously, projectile weapons, okay? If you are riding something, the idea of a small to medium length weapon is just out the window. It's idiotic. A lot of it depends on what you're trying to do. So archery, just think of it, Mongolian archery in the air. That makes sense. A powerful, short bow that's not going to tangle much. If you are going to use a sword, you're going to have to think in terms of a cavalry sword, something that you could draw whilst sitting, hung in a way that it's sitting, or a lance, a trident, a boar spear. A boar spear is a very, very underappreciated tool in the weapons game because that's going to stop big things from coming up the shaft at you. And in a fantasy setting especially, there are a whole world of baddies that you're going to poke them and they're not going to die from it. But if you can poke and pin them, a team with boar spears and good axeman, you pin the vamp, you decapitate, you're done. You pin the lycanthrope, decapitate. You see a pattern here? But, a lot of those things would come right up. Your zombies. No, go over there. And they're pinned. You want to think in those kinds of terms. Again, incendiary explosives. If you're flying, don't think like it's a horse. Think like it's an airplane. Grenade weapons in any fantasy setting are undervalued and underutilized. One of my greatest D&D characters of all time was Maltov the Mage, who basically was a level 1 wizard who went around with bandoliers of lamp oil because he wasn't going to die. Poleaxe. Poleaxe is a beautiful thing. Poleaxes are underappreciated, John. I don't know if you've cut. I've talked about them quite a bit. Poleaxe, long axe. Yeah, I love those things. But the axe head is much smaller than most people think. That's why halberds are awesome. A halberd, I can see a halberd if you're going to get in, but why? I mean, really, I'm going to want to just go Mongolian horsebow on you. Bam. You let the mount handle the mobility and just attack at range. Because I don't see a reason to close in melee if I don't have to. So that's my opinion on flying weapons. Against flying weapons, entanglement for days. Bolos, flug nets. So basically like a cast net, like you do to catch minnows. One of those thrown through the air to entangle whatever. You don't need to do much to get the wings to not be working like they're supposed to and have it fall down. A crossbow that shoots a bolt like that would be really cool. Yeah, a little bit of steampunk. Kind of get that dwarven feel, like, gnomish. I don't have to. Whoa. So that's something to think about. Let's see, what else do we have in here? Getting on that, we have a whole bunch of questions. This whole section, and it's fighting in different terrain. Now, fighting in different terrain. I believe terrain is part of the fight. The terrain is the first set of weapons that you have in a given fight. If you're looking at it from offense, it's how you set up your ambush. Because an offensive-minded person, again, we're talking writing here, should be going from a perspective of, I want to deal as much damage as fast as possible without taking damage. This is basic predatory 101. This is why you avoid dark, narrow alleyways where you can't see going in. Humans naturally don't look up. Look up. Okay? Mountain lion might be up there, folks. Big old spider might be up there. You don't know if you haven't secured up as well as all around. That's part of it. Now, thanks to Star Wars again, I have the high ground. I may need to do a video about the high ground, okay? And how that affects different types. Because depending on the weapons you're fighting with, no fight will be fought until the kill pocket is in place, melee. Nice. And that's John's hinting there about the rules. They're things that I was hammered as a youth, and they have stayed with me. I remember I was taking basic aid training that it was a first aid program, first aid, what to do in emergencies. The teacher comes in, I think it was a fireman or a dare cop. They used to have those, before things changed. So there's an emergency. What's the first thing you do? And the answer they wanted was assess the situation. Gosh, if Little Nick didn't say, establish your perimeter. Part of establishing your perimeter is obviously assessing the situation, but that's what was hardwired. Establish your perimeter. This is us, that's them. The them might be the fire, the them might be the people coming out of the woods. Doesn't matter. Establish the perimeter. Now, Jeff's getting ahead. When you have the high ground, angles are good targets. The high ground is preferable if you are equipped to deal with having the high ground. What does that mean? Angled shields, angled spears. Remember I mentioned spears earlier? Guys, there's a reason that the spear is one of the oldest, to this day, most beloved melee weapons ever conceived by humanity. I can poke you from way over here. That's neat. That mountain lion can't reach me. I'm over here. No, as long as the pointy end is over there, defends my intimidation. Ditto with the spear. Having the high ground means your opponent has to work harder to get to you. And in a large environment, it gives you better tactical control. You can assess the field better. It's very important your commander either be tall enough to see things or up high enough to see the surrounding to control how a fight goes. Because you have to be able to assess your surrounding. But in a duel, what if I told you you don't have to chase him ever? What do I mean? Somebody runs up, ha! I am king of the mountain. Does you no good. I'm not moving. And even if you have, think of the I need two roughly same length objects. Here we go. These guys are close enough. If somebody's up here, they have to reach down. Somebody's up here, they reach up. Look at that. They have to reach at a more extreme angle for, as John said, their ankles. If you could target low, you can mess somebody up. Now, if they have shields, if they're protected, it's a whole different ballpark. But just having the high ground alone, Star Wars, how Star Wars should have ended. Obi-Wan, Anakin, I have the high ground. If Anakin had just been like, okay, whoop, and cut off, the front of Obi-Wan, reached up and sliced off the front of Obi-Wan's feet, the fight would have gone different. Also, Obi should just force pushed him in the lava and been done with it. Just saying. Shield wall. John's talking. Shield wall where short unseen combatants fire shots between and under the wall. Yes. That's optimal shield wall build where you have not just layers horizontally of defenders in a shield wall, but layers vertically. The short spearman in a shield wall of very tall people is a dangerous creature. And they're the ones who are going to give you the most trouble if you're trying to get up a wall. Now, if you've prepared said approach by making it very steep, some sharp points at the bottom, a ditch, then you don't have to kill them. You just have to knock them off balance, and the fall and pointy bits will kill them. Scenery is a wonderful. Some of the best kills are scenery kills. Now, further, we get into traction. Let's see. How techniques change in situations when footing is treacherous. Ice, slick surface, too much traction, too little, loose sand, gravel, etc. Yes, John. Those. When you are fighting, the trick, if you notice, the way I teach movement, I don't teach big dramatic steps. This is one of those where I've argued with other instructors. This is a personal difference between me and several masters and many martial arts instructors. They teach the big wide step. Pick up, step where you're going. I teach a drag. My foot doesn't leave the ground very far. And that's because I am aware of the motion as much as I'm aware of the fighting. I don't want to trip. And if I pick up and step down, and I step down on an uneven surface, I'm more likely to fall than if I'm pushing and I feel by being aware, I feel the change. I feel a log, I feel a root, I feel whatever snag, I can stop mid-motion. I never want to overcommit unless I have no other option. I'm always about keeping my options moving. So when I do something, you do it. But don't do it in such a way you can't change midstream unless you have no other choice. Loose, again, it's all about the basics. The more elaborate the situation gets, the more it comes down to just, like, before you run, you have to walk. Before you walk, you have to stand. And there are a lot of people who jump straight to running, not understanding why they stand the way they do. Not feet, not so wide, this little wider than shoulder length, shoulder width. My weight is loose, little low slung. My center of gravity is in control, and it's mobile. Unless I need to root. And if you watch it, you'll see root. And then, okay, I've rooted. There's a slight rotation in my feet, locked up. There are reasons for this. John's seeing me right now going under a round shield. Boom. The hit is coming. I've rooted. Now, as the hit, I unroot as I choose. I feel the force, and then I allow the force to be directed. You don't want to oppose force with force if you don't have to. It's inefficient. I would far rather take the shield roll, let the blow just keep going, maybe a nice smack as they go by, but I don't want to push. How many times those rams where they're bam, if one of them just went nope and just let the other dude go sailing by, it's like reverse chicken. I know what's behind me. Get you charging, move, thud. This is little guy logic. It's scary when big guys move with little guy logic. It ain't fair, but it is scary. Now one interesting thing we're seeing, movement restricted underwater. Okay, fighting underwater. Fighting underwater, you're either moving or you're grappling and attacking. Okay? If you can get rooted on the ground and come back up, that's just basically a devoted thrust. But you don't want to be in the lag, okay? You don't want motion to go. So you want to get hold, control, and then do. And what you're seeing is this. Do I carry a long knife underwater? No. Locked in dive knife. Okay, this has the tightest locking grip of any knife I have. Okay, it's locked in. If it's backwards for whatever reason, fine, it's locked in. I'm gonna do the job and then move. Exactly. That's what I teach. It's let their ocean in, and with the ocean, it's even more so. If there's zero G or light G, it's all about the push off. Okay. It's a lot more like jousting because you have to get where you're going. If you're maintaining motion, I'd still rather not. I am by heart a defensive fighter. I will always be a defensive fighter. It's who and what I am. But if you're charging into it, they have all the options because I'm not reacting. Okay, I'm acting by choice. As soon as they jump, I have time. Maybe it's a measure, maybe it's not. Boom, boom. Depends on the tempo of the fight, but why should I commit until I know what's going on? Then I solve the problem at relative mental leisure. And that comes from knowing. You have to know your space. You have to know not just your reach, okay? In all these situations you're talking about, high G, it's still to control. It just pulls the bubble in. Smaller weaponry, tighter motion. Exhaustion is the key. Zero G. People are flying around. Unless projectile weapons are involved, if it's melee fighting, you take your time and let them make a mistake. Because they will. They come barreling in. As soon as they committed to something that they can't change, you got them. So, it's not necessarily heroic, because it's funny. People think heroes are action. Heroes are not. I'm going to tell you a great, powerful secret. You want to change the world, think like a villain. Whoa, Nick, you get passionate. You bet I'm getting passionate. Heroes are reactionary. Think about it. G.I. Joe doesn't go out and kick down Cobra's door very often. No, they got to wait till Cobra does something. So, Cobra attacks somewhere, or, even the rebellion. They got to wait for the Empire to attack somewhere, to respond, or do something. There has to be a response. So you want to be the acting. And believe it or not, acting and waiting is an action. Observing is an action. Picking your time. You don't let the other person decide the fight. No, if you are not, okay, in all the environments, in all the situations, fight choreography, whatever, if you are not gaining an advantage or removing a disadvantage, you are wasting energy. And I just don't have energy to waste. So what you need to keep that in mind. And a lot of it's going to be the character. Remember, choreography is always the background and the personality of a character. If everybody fights the exact same way, which you see a lot of, no one has any character. The fight should always be a physical discussion. There should be, talk about Skyrim as just dragons shouting at each other. It's a very deadly debate, whatever. Combat should be. The guy who, I yell when you're not listening to me, I'm going to yell at you. Is the guy who's coming in and he's raining blows. Listen to me, obey. No. And the guy was like, dude, chill. No, I really don't. Can we talk about something else? Is the guy who's dodging. Your personality affects your fight. And it affects what styles you're drawn to. If I want a very straight in, forward, aggressive, I'm going to kill you, and the person who come in, gross movements, I'm going to pull some, unless your background demands it. So that's people who are in the military, like a Marine, learn Macbeth. Marine Corps martial arts program. But then again, Marines get turned sociologically into a very different kind of person than they were before they became the Marines. Why do Marines charge? How can they charge a machine gun nest? Because they know no bullet has the audacity. How dare a bullet think it has the right to strike a United States Marine? Which is beautiful. Different, but beautiful. By sheer force of I will do this, they will do this. I'm a big proponent of, if I know something can't be done and you know something can't be done, don't tell them they can't do it till after it's been done, But if I'm coming in, and that's, the aggressive guy is going to be aggressive. Character dictates combat. I've seen it so many times. And you find that the most when you're training somebody new. When they dictate how, if you read my book, from what I teach, John went from puppy to killing machine puppy. Well, yeah, because he's a Marine. And what's great is, Steph is talking about her fiance. I'm going to say husband. You're getting married. Time, it doesn't matter. Your fiance, John, there is a video a while back where he was at actually my house, my current house, and we had a melee practice. We actually had enough people to get some melee fights on. And one of the most beautiful things was something I was watching for because, like teaching big guys like John defense, I've many times been warned against working with vets because many vets either have PTSD or they have training that overrides. And the trick is teaching and finding the individual who's sparring in a game where they're trying so they can feel the switch go in their mind. I don't want to turn that switch off because that's what's kept them alive and may keep them alive in the future. All they have to do is be aware of whether it's going or not. And we're fighting, and it's great fun because we're going, we're like, hold! And because I watched him switch over, his body language is it was from, hi, I'm John. Whatever his rank was, like the dog tags burst out of his throat. You could just see, Marine. Okay, Marine, stand down. We're going to cool off. John, the motto is, that sign ain't going to stop me because I can't read. Oh. I want to say this: Marines are some of my favorite people on the planet. You guys are just glorious. I love every one of you. It's just one of those things. But I was raised in a Navy household, so we're used to being your taxis. That's fine. Well, they are. I am a fat civilian. Interesting segue. Interesting off-topic segue. I was recently asked, as I like light, slender, small sword, roughly length weapons, saber-ish, but a little lighter than some of the, why I don't own a Marine Corps or a naval saber or that thing the Air Force has. I don't own those by choice because I was not a veteran of those services. And it is my rule set, my opinion, not necessarily judging others, but on me, that to own that would be too close to stolen valor. That's not for me. Okay? That is for them. That is tied to their service. It is tied to their service branch. It is tied to their history. I respect it, but at the same time, I won't cross that road. Would I carry like a patent saber? Possibly. It's historical. It's something from before the current period. There's no confusion. Nobody's gonna be like, "Oh my God," But I am still looking for a very specific sword, and when I find it, I will acquire it, or I will make one like it. But at this point, I haven't found the right sword, and I'm not in the buying of wall hangers. If I buy a sword, it would be, for me, that fits what I do. And John gave me very close. He gave me the short rapier. It's a Bilbao short. If it was about half again longer and a sturdier blade, I'd probably consider that my sword. The poop hits the fan, that would be on my hip sword. It's like, why would you carry a sword? Because it's what I know. There are certain firearms I'm more likely to carry than others because they're what I know. Yes, more modern, more advanced weapons are available, but I don't know them. Okay? Part of the reason, like, for example, I like revolvers. I've always liked revolvers. I like the big front sight. I like revolvers. But I'm not a big fan of Glocks. Part of it is I'm nearsighted. I have parallax issues, and anything with the 3-dot sights is never comfortable for me. The grip isn't comfortable, and what I've been trained does it. Muscle memory fights it, so I can make them go, but I don't necessarily like them. I understand what's said about the Air Force sword. I don't. It's a little short, and it's not quite my preference. But again, I'm not an airman. I would not carry that. I'm not going to bash any of the branches because I'm a civilian. I will laugh when vets bash each other because that's their club. I'm not a member of that club. I am a proud member of Fat Civilians Against Stolen Valor. And there's something with that coming up in the distant future, possibly. But that line is copyright to me right now. Anyway, but going back down the line, I missed some comments because I was good. John Miner had to help Amanda find the kill switch to go when she was a student from generic killing force. Okay. There is a lizard brain that exists in a lot of women, especially, and some men, like I talked about, who don't want to hurt their friends. And training past that is necessary because you need to be able to get over that in the self-defense roles. And that is part of it. That is part of it to understand. It's the whole with the student. Some students I have to really work to help them find their capacity to do this. They want it, they don't have it, and you have to build them up. Sometimes you have to tear folks down a bit because they come in with attitude and ego, and they want to push harder than they can back up, and that can get them hurt. So you have to teach them to rail back, dial back the aggression, but understand when they get better, it's going to come back, and it's going to come back in spades. Believe it or not, James Robertson, most defensive fighter I know, but very, very powerful defensive fighter. Interesting shieldman. He's got a lot of that, where it's that contain. No, dial it back, dial down the aggression. He learned all this defense, learned all this stuff, and then the aggression comes back. And that's a lot of what I do. You have a lot of range of motion, a lot of ways you can do things. But first, we take that all away. We get a groundwork. It's the difference between speaking basic English like a kid and learning how to swear, how to speak slang in a given environment, what works and what doesn't, that kind of linguistic development. That's the difference. I want everybody to speak the same language and then find their accent. John said the next step is to the next kill. Okay. But it's a lot of it is the flow, and it's finding where your flow is, either building you up, teaching you to be able to it's music. Play your instrument loud enough for people to hear. Okay, wait. Trombone. Trumpet guy. You don't get to be the solo for everything. The trumpet guy is the guy who walks in the room. Hi, I'm important. Okay, you're part of the orchestra. I'm important. Not saying you're not, but you're part of the orchestra. There's that little okay, why are you playing a kazoo? You're part of the orchestra. What can we get you? Oh, okay, clarinet. Cool. Let's get you up to where you're doing that line. It's kind of that mentality overlaps with weaponry. And when I talk, I gesture. And when I gesture with weapons, I sort of semi-drill. This is actually really great exercise for me. You should see me on a phone. But so cut it short or overreach or put yourself in danger. And that's part John put. However, you need to know when to cut it short or you will overreach and put yourself. And that's the process of teaching. And a lot of this is just, I build from the so you never held a sword or you've done other things you want to hold a sword. And we go from there. And then I say, okay, go learn stuff, bring it back. We'll see how it works. And that's how we get styles. And that's why one of my greatest, all my students, everyone who's trained with me as an instructor is identifiable to people who know how to watch it. At the same time, they all fight radically different. That means I'm doing my job. Yep, John's talking about how to deal with an over-aggressive person as an opponent, which is a lot of, am I retreating or baiting you? Retreating is baiting them. Retreating is always baiting them. Come on. Either you're going to make a mistake or I'm going to gain an advantage. Well, what about you making a mistake? Ah! I'm retreating. This is my comfortable zone. I am a crawdad. I'm going to go backwards. You know, my tank, I'm going to cite Oddball from Kelly's Heroes. My tank has 2 gears forward and 3 in reverse. We like to know we can get out of trouble faster than we got into it. And that's what I teach my students. But, you have to come by through the personality. And I see John is a big man with a big personality. John. I can throw a dumpster as a melee action. Yes, John, you can throw a dumpster as a melee. And I can't imagine what young John was like, because I happen to know there's a story about John that involves a Korean instructor, little short dude, who he went to train with and beat the stuffings out of him, stood on his chest and leaned over and said, "Oh, now you are ready to learn." And in a few beautiful moments of my life, I've experienced what it's like to be the little dude, in that case, who's worked with somebody very big, adjusted their perspective enough to be able to help them get better. And that's that's part of the job. You have to be able to in one breath, just stair step somebody and be willing to move as slow as they're comfortable to draw them out so that they can find what they're capable of. And then there is, another one of my dad's sayings, a man has got to know his limitations. If you think you're 8 foot tall and bulletproof, go out and slap a cop. That was an old expression from back in the day. Please don't, especially now. I don't condone violence against the police ever on a public forum. Anyway, that's a joke. There's humor here. Let's let it go. But let's see. I got some other questions that I haven't broached in, and we are an hour and a half in, folks. Okay. DIY armor. I will do a video on making armor. It's a lot simpler than people want to talk, especially for a group that has the kind of conventions that my group has. Whenever you're picking equipment, that's arms or armor, you have to match the conventions and necessity for the situation. What do I mean by that? If you're looking for something to defend yourself against bullets, please go out, spend some money, get some high-grade plate, not Wish knockoff stuff, and practice moving around and working with it, okay? Learn your gear. There are 5 branches of instructional organizations that are put forward by the United States government to teach you these sorts of organizations, this sorts of information, if you can't afford to acquire it yourself. They are debated on who will give you what, but they're all there. Oh, wait, from John. We got this pipe so the Germans think we got something smaller than we got something bigger than a 75. Scares the smaller guests away. Hopefully they don't have any tigers. Yes. John saying plate too heavy. Are you referring to ballistic plate? I'm going to say I would rather have ballistic plate if I have to dodge bullets than I would not. It just means you have to build up your endurance, because getting shot sucks. I've not been shot. I've been shot at and missed, pooped at and hit, and I got a ping on my DM. So let me check what's going on. Hi. Okay. Good friend John, other John, little John, just said, I warned you about the negative waves. Man, I understand about the negative waves, man. It's just not, you gotta stay positive, man. I'm gonna want to watch that movie. I don't even know if I can find it streaming, but yeah. Okay. I love this stuff. Let's see, nothing there. Nothing there. Kevlar is okay. It just depends on what you're doing. I'm not a big fan of ceramics because while ceramics work, they work once. And then they break and you have to do other stuff. Kevlar's pretty good, but it depends on what you think you're dodging. Only when your best friend is shooting at you. And Steve Clausen, folks, comes out of the back. Mr. Fat Guys Against Stolen Fat Civilians Against Stolen Valor. He's helping me with that. For folks who don't know, Steve is a supporter. He doesn't support me through Patreon. He uses other more colorful means. And there's some really good stuff coming out of his universe in the future, if all goes well. I'm not going to talk about it, but I will keep interest built up just in case it works out. Now, and that's why I say a lot of it, when you talk about Arms and Armor, match what you're doing. And this is why I have a tremendous argument with the SCA fencers. The SCA fencers are still in the mid-realm, armoring like they're fighting with epées. An épée is a light weapon. A fencing foil is not. A fencing foil is a light weapon too, but a fencing rapier. This is a fencing rapier. This is a very light fencing rapier, very short one, but it was the one that was most handy. This is a much more substantial. This, and yes, I have decided when I get the means to stew the videos, when I will do the restoration to clean this up a bit. But this is a Schlager. You notice the amount of effort difference. This is stiff. That means a lot of force is condensed at the end. They can break, as John has mentioned, but they do a lot more blunt impact damage. And I really feel the SCA should be making plastrons over the chest mandatory. And they're worried about it not looking. That's it. Wait, next time you tell me just go kill him, tell me that the dude. Oh yeah, if I want John, I have used John in the past as a confidence adjustment tool. John is really good, especially for when you're dealing with somebody young who has perhaps ego problems. John is very good at, no, look. You go them up because they've earned it. And there was an incident where that came in. Steve has become quite good at that too. But Steve is more play knife patty cake. Like, hey Steve, because you're watching. Hello, Crappy. Yes. It still loves you. But that being said, I've watched Steve and John both have the same signature move of I'm gonna step on your foot and cut your throat. God, is it beautiful to see a big guy just go, nope. Me, I'm big and fluffy. But that was my dagger all. You know what, John? I will say it, those SOB scrawny, no good, rotten marshals were, he's too careful. Oh, he doesn't have enough aggression. Oh, I thought he was supposed to be a heavy fighter and he could fight. Talking smack. Motherfucker needed to go down. That needs to die. Like the hell Karate needs to die, but it's your best friend. It loves you. Heap of patty cake with the credit. But it makes good. This is a hard trainer. This is a soft trainer. This teaches binding techniques and, blade control and lets you go tack, keep them a patty cake. This is a soft trainer. It lets you just stab people and kill them a lot so that they understand how dead they are without hurting your friends. New trainers probably coming next week. I had some delay and some necessity. But Yeah. I got to take a second, guys, because I want to talk about something, and this is slightly personal. But many years ago, I had a friend, and today is his birthday, and he left us far too early. His name was Zach, and Zach was one of those people who made you feel cool, even if you were the biggest dork in the universe. But I remember something about Zach. I was walking around campus, and back in those days, because I was staying out late all the time on campus, I'd have a flashlight and I had my can of Mountain Dew. And I'm walking around like this because I need to carry my book, my phone, Mountain Dew, and my flashlight. So my flashlight is routed just like this. And Zach comes running up to me. Bigger. What is that, dude? And being me, I looked at him and said, it's Mountain Dew Radioactive. They're giving away samples at the cafeteria. What? Mountain Dew Radioactive? Clap him on the shoulder. He goes, dude, that's awesome. Runs back. Walking a little farther. This was back in the Battle Lake Gates. You guys didn't see me when I was really, really messed up. Most of you, anyway. A little while, I hear the thunk, thunk, thunk. Zach's a little short, kind of round guy. Big mohawk. Just awesome. So, dude, how'd you do that? And I'm looking at him laughing. Like, that's not what you should be asking. Because what? I tell you I did it, but what you should be asking is how you got my flashlight in your pocket. Reaches in, he pulls my flashlight out of his pocket, because being me, I put pocketed him. He's like, man. And he died very young. And I miss him. And today is his birthday. So I always tell that story on his birthday. So, yeah. I also always drink knockoff Mountain Dew and light it up at some point on his birthday. Cheers, man. Okay, moving on. Because he was not a sad person and would not want us to be sad, I will not stay there. I did what I do. We're moving on. So, let's see. Other comments. Oh. We talked about goofs. My entire drilling, like I said, is available. Look for the drilling instruction videos. You just go through the basic guards. You do that in a mirror, and you keep track. You drill against a target. I could do some more talk about that. We might even do some partner stuff, depending on how Mandy's feeling. She's not feeling good, and she hasn't for a while, so we're not doing a lot of that. But Lars Anderson, oh my gosh. Okay, Lars Anderson is a gentleman who does stylized archery. It does some neat tricks, and it's cool. Thank you, Cindy. The thing is, archery's been around for thousands of years, okay? And and yes, we all need to stab each other in person soon. As soon as this whole, I don't have to worry about coughing and killing you guys, and you don't have to worry about coughing and killing me, we're going to get on with, like, consensual simulated deaths. But he did it. It caused a whole big stink in the archery community, the martial arts community. This is the right way, this is the wrong way, speed shooting. Bows have been around a long time. How they work, they're tricks, they're bends, they're ways to do it. But at the end of the day, find what works for you. What works, feels practical, and make it go. If somebody says that's not cool or that's not fast enough, they can take a flying at a rolling donut, okay? And I'm trying to work on my swearing, so there's a lot of self-edits here. But That being said, trick shots are cool. You want to practice and put in the hours to learn it. If the style looks appealing to you, it's just like a sword-based style. Learn it. If it works, cool. Now, I will say the basic standard, and I don't actually have a bow strung in here for reasons of sanity, so we'll just do this. And we'll just do... I'm flashing stuff there. Knock. Line up. Sorry, okay, I had to check. I prefer to anchor the bow here, lock the elbow, use the shoulder. It's anchored here. I can get a much stronger weight by using the leverage of my shoulder muscles than just a straight pull. It fires right. I park it at about a 45-degree angle, so it keeps it steady even if it's straight longbow. Smooth release, and you get predictable results. Lars likes the wrap around to the outside speed shooting stuff. Good for him. If it works for him, which it does, you have fun with it. But don't let him tell you that that's the right or see. There will always be one or two examples, if you could really dig, of anybody doing anything. In history, you can always pull what you want. But I will tell you this, Occam's razor lives so strongly in our nature. Humanity does the simplest thing most of the time when it comes to the basics of anything. Why? Because if I put it here, weight keeps the arrow on my thumb. Go, boink. It's simple. All marksmanship requires consistency. You want to get better at marksmanship, especially. 90-pound compound is still in the basement waiting for you to pull. Now, I have my 80-pound recurve, longbow recurve. I love that thing. Lovingly call it DeWalt because it just drills them in. But a 90-pound, well, after the break, it wouldn't be bad. Given the damage, see, I got to be careful. Like, most things I'm ambidextrous with. Bows are one of the few things I am not ambidextrous with because force going into this messed up wrist is really, really bad. Force pulling out, we can work with. So I will always shoot like this. It's also why I like lighter caliber weapons. I don't need to prove that I can, blast. Although I will tell you this. If you ever get the chance, wow, one, a 44 is not that uncomfortable. Two, yeah, it's been a while. I remember now. For long hold, which I realized it's not that bad. Thank you again, Steve, for letting me try it. But I would far rather something that's comfortable to shoot that I can do consistently, because that's marksmanship. Don't get drawn into the game of poundage. I need a big, powerful bow. If it's not comfortable, don't shoot it. Find what's comfortable. Now, obviously, to do certain kinds of hunting, you need certain kinds of poundage. That's just the law, and it's just the physics necessary to bring down something like that. That being said, sorry, John, my memory was a little spastic at that. Yeah, I draw. I have an 80-pound longbow that I drill. I also have like a 10 or 15 little dinky kid bow I shoot, and a 35 recurve that I absolutely adore. I have a couple of those, and I can shoot those all day. And I don't, Unfortunately, I moved from a bowl where wind was very particular to one of the windiest parts of the world, certainly the windiest parts of the nation. So I don't get to do a lot of archery simply because when the wind is blowing, it is really blowing, and you start doing like wanted shooting. Oh, I want to hit the target. What are you doing? But it's that just pow. You have to start thinking like it's a mix of half exhausted pool playing and long ball shooting, and 2 light does carry issues as well. But for physicality, that's the thing. What you guys want, pick something that feels comfortable and use it till you can, drive attack with it. Because then if you build up your strength and you can do harder, fine. Then you just reestablish the consistency. Reestablishing consistency is so much easier once you've built it in the first place. People undervalue slingshots, by the way. Slingshots are wonderful things for practicing archery, for practicing consistency. Heck, Nerf guns, whatever you're using, practice it, and you'll get better. And believe it or not, the same idea of a basic sword thrust. It should be a piston, the same motion every time, all the time. Slow, controlled action. There is no shortcut. Now, I'm about 15 minutes from the second hour, and I missed my commercial break. So I'm going to give a brief commercial break in this. Hi, if you like what I'm doing, buy my book on Amazon or become a patron through my Patreon, which will be in the gobbledygook at the bottom of this page once it's loaded. Just look up the Historical Fencing Guild channel on Patreon. Thank you. That's been my commercial. But it's interesting. The right way. Let's see. Bow. The right way is to have a bow you can use as a staff. Well, see, that's an interesting thing. Steve says round back is the right way is to have a bow you can use as a staff. And that's interesting because that presumes that a longer bow is going to be a heavier poundage. And unfortunately, I got to play with my buddy Jesse, may he rest in peace. This Mongolian war bow, which was not terribly long, but had tremendous poundage. It's about finding the tool that feels comfortable for you. For example, this is about 4-foot stick. It is a walking stick for me. It is barely a cane for John because he's a giant, and it's way too short to be a staff. For me, it's quite comfortable. It's quite a comfortable length. I can do a lot of things with it. It's the same thing. Sword-wise, what am I likely to carry? I'm likely to carry something closer to a small sword than even an extremely long rapier or an arming sword. Why? Because I'd rather be able to have longevity and, favor my stamina with what I'm carrying. Now, Steve's more likely to have something that says Ulfbert on the side, and John's more likely to throw, John's more likely to be wielding a great sword in one hand and a 12-gauge shotgun in the other, because it's John with a 45, hopefully in a shoulder holster, if not appendix carry. Although I'm not a big fan of appendix carry. I like my nether regions enough that I don't want a gun pointed at them most of the time. Plus, I'm fat and the curvature does not fit well with such things. But, wow, we've been all over the place. I wanted to get something. Cindy Cap said this right here. She said, Asian and European weapons are snazzy, but how about some lesser-known ones like Middle Eastern, African, indigenous cultures, part of the world's ancient cultures? Great question. And this is what I was going to say. I don't know. I can make them go by the premise of design. But if you're interested in acquiring such, at least I can tell you a great place to find the trainers. If you go to Purple Heart Armory and you look through their especially their basic trainer lines, you will find some really neat indigenous weapons. You'll find weapons from oh god, I'm so tired. I'm not even thinking straight. Please, in reference to the message I got, please don't shoot our windmills. The more you know. Okay. Anyway, but I can send you some links. I'll put some more stuff on the channel about that. You know, the not the channel, the group feed for people who are interested. But seriously, if you just go to Purple Heart Armory, and aside from having worked on them to make this, because I'm proud of it, and it's one of the best, in my mind, trainers on the market. And this isn't like I got a free one for helping with the variants of this. This is still the Italian tactical side sword trainer is one of my all-time favorite swords. I love this weapon, and it is a big proponent for what would be like my go-to if I were stocking a proper Soleil with like 12 weapons. Okay, yeah, and African weapons. Let me see. I'm going to try and risk boring you guys, but if you go to Purple Heart Armory, and what I'm doing is I'm looking it up on my phone to give you the names because my brain is farting. And if you go World Martial Arts in the category, you will find African culture, Americas, Chinese, Filipino, Japanese, Mediterranean, and then staffs in Mokujo, which are bayonet rifle trainers. But I think that's what you're looking for. And you will find, yes, Indo-Persian culture. Okay, they've moved some. So you're going to have Persian sabers. Oh, they have some new ones. Ooh. Okay, see, I haven't shopped in a while, but they have towers. They have guitars. And what you do, if you're interested in these weapons, Aboriginal weapons, etc., go look them up and then find it. And then study it. There are sources, but a lot of times it's knowing the name of what you're looking for in specific. It gets really tricky to do till you know what you're talking about. And then you can just go to town. So I really think if you're looking for a specific trainer style, first you have to find the name of the weapon. Like the Egyptian sword, you know, the one that goes straight, then it curves out. That's a Kopesh. And my enunciation may be completely wrong. Kopesh. Seen that? Okay, now, hey, I know it's Egyptian. I know the name of it. I can tick, 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 type into the wonderful world, and you can find resources. That's what I recommend. And the trick is, like, you know, those punch daggers. Looking up the word punch dagger will give you a whole set of things, but looking up Indian guitar, which, give me a second because I'm multitasking, looks like that, okay? Now you could go, hey, I want sets like this. MartialArtsMart.com used to do a really neat set of a system where they would do weapon trainers and then DVDs. Addle-addles are awesome, and addle-addle is a spear chucker. It's a stick with a hook at the end that hooks to the back end of a stick and doubles the length of your throw. It's really cool. It's a big lever for flicking a spear farther. They're on my all-time kind of favorite engineered weapons. Kopesh, called Wu Jia. Wu Jia? Or Jia Wu? It's fun looking at foreign languages and being dyslexic. There is actually an inexpensive Kopesh trainer available by the guys who make my Cutlass trainer. And I think it's Wu Jia. I saw it on Amazon. It's like less than $30. It's somewhere around that $30 range. If you're interested, look it up. Snag one. or get a big sheet of HDP and cut yourself one out. The nice thing about Stephanie is she's the only person I think I've ever fought who might have a shorter reach than I do. That means weapons scaled to her can be quite short, which means the material cost and being able to get a hold of them is not hard. But I am rather fond of this company because they are American made. Oh, God, it went away? Dang it. I'm trying to find. Oh, it's all Viking. I don't want Viking. Anyway, I'm sorry. The site has rearranged itself. But yes, Shadai trainers work for percussive training. Sure, Shadai trainers are great. You can get like 2 for $30. They're light. You can find them actually less. I've seen them as low as 11. But there's a problem with Shadais in that because they're made of strips of bamboo that's coiled together, they can pinch. And that can be a bit of a like, well, yeah, of course it mimics katanas. That's what kendo is. Yeah, Shinais are great, but they're very, very light. So what we can do is maybe next week I can go on a whole weapons rant, specific, suppliers, what you're looking for, everybody wants to be, which is great, but I'm not looking up Viking stuff. I am looking up. Okay. Oh, I actually want to point this out because I've been seeing this deal go by. There's a Hungarian saber set with a training book for $75 for 2 sabers. This is a good deal, especially if you're in a house and you want to learn something like this. Stephanie and John came to mind because it would outfit you guys both with fairly comfortable weapons. Talwar's great. Not a big fan of Ramdo. Shottle. A shottle is very close to Kopesh in function. It's just a little excessive. And you can find them at Purple Heart Armory. Like that. I'm not plugging them because they're, feeding me anything. I'm plugging them because they have some great materials. Yes. John, if they're big people who hit things, if they're big people, they were related to you. No, well, John is actually, Scottish Viking and all that is his universe, so that's why he's going in. So a lot of people do it. You're looking for something unique. Stephanie's very big into the unique as a thing, and that's cool. But yeah, Kopesh are interesting. I think you'll find it. You'll find it neat, but John screaming, "I can't read!" John can fight whatever he wants. And you know what? He has a teacher who can read to him. Miss Stephanie can read to him. And you know what she can read to him? The Historical Fencing Guild's School of Defense Volume 1. Shameless plug because I have like 2 minutes left in my intended broadcast. But I'm hoping at least thank you. I want to stop and say thank you. I have a whole stack of questions. The more you guys, try new things. Awesome. Seriously. I poke fun, but explore. I want you to, guys, keep sending me questions because if I can't answer them this week, it gives me a research project. I can come back. I can look into it and try to better. I found out about that today. I can give you a week to brush up because she is the one you're telling me she wants. Yes, she wants to learn Psi. She wants to learn Psy. And when things get going again, John can teach Psy. He can teach it well, and he's used to teaching people much smaller than him. But I'm off the clock. I don't want to teach right now. Oh, that's right. Steph Alredo Psy. I forgot about that. We had to turn it off because that was back in Angry Steph period. And there was no. We had to. I still think Steph, 2 of these, just go Psy with them. Make you happy. Just because the muscle memory is there. She went full whoop. I'm like, oh, wow, hi. I recognize that fighting style. But, I want to serve the community. That's what I do. And I'm going to take a second and dial it back. So please continue sending me questions. The ones I didn't address, I'll do. I am planning. I'm so behind. I have 2 neck knife videos that still need editing. It was just so hot in here with the computer, I couldn't do it. So I'm going to edit those. I still need to do that Sword and Cloak video. And when I do my DIY projects, when I start building new armor, building new weapons and stuff, I'll try to be in a situation where I can set up the new laptop and Double Dragon. I think that's the kind of side that Steph did, John. I really think you two could have a lot of fun. Well, we'll see. I was sent a picture of a spear. I completely agree, John. Yes, Sydney was talking about the side because she was choreographing a really neat duel. If that character survives, which I honestly can't remember, we can do more. And we can work with it because I want this to be a resource for writers. I want this to be a resource for martial artists. Because if writers write better fights, we get better martial artists with more interest in actually being able to do things than this kung fu-y, wire fu stuff. So definitely. Sword and Cloak is beautiful. I love Sword and Cloak. Basically, there are 2 approaches. Okay. There's the 3 if you're going Cloak and Dagger, which is kind of hiding it more like you can. So you can use the cloak furled out to disguise whatever you're going to do and or stab through it. You can wrap a cloak around your offhand forearm. So basically take the fabric, you double it over a couple times and use that essentially as a shield to prevent slashing. This is a self-defense practical. Or you could do the full sword dancer, twirling, I am distracting you with the cloak and my motions, and then really going into it. I have to do kind of descriptions, but I don't actually have a decent fighting cloak right now. Like I said, I had a flood, and most of my fabric gear was at least damaged. That's why I don't wear some of the fighting jackets I used to. It's why some stuff isn't findable. Here we go. And yeah, when things get rolling, we can set up, and you guys, anybody, once like I said, this breaks, by then hopefully my yard will be back up to code. We'll have facilities again, and we can fight. I miss it, but we could do staff fighting. We can. I can make knives go. Got a couple of people who are better. Most people are better at their chosen orientation than I am. I'm just a big old fat totem. I can dabble at almost everything. But guys, well, right now I've been on for 2 hours, and I'm going to have to call it because 1, I'm a little hungry and I really didn't get a lot to eat. And 2, I had to work late, so this is really kind of taxing me. I could feel it starting to drag. So, keep throwing comments, okay? please, 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 ask questions. Even if I don't get to them right away, I will get to them on the Facebook group. Drill. I have drilling videos for the people who want to know what to do. Go through my list. I have a lot of old instructional stuff. Some of it's from the old hoary days of the Republic, but it is there. If you don't, please buy my book. It's free to download through Kindle Unlimited if you have that. And it's really, really cheap as an ebook. I kept it as low as pretty much they'll let me because of the size of content and the fact that I use color in the diagrams. So, thank you. If you want to support what I'm doing financially so that I can afford to buy the trainers and knives and things to review, either send me knives, trainers, and things to review, or consider becoming a patron at any value right now. I am working on some stuff that I will give to the patrons first as sort of a thank you, and then it'll be released out or published or whatever. I just hit some fallbacks, and some of my other projects that are part of contract work have delayed, and we've had some stuff. So thank you. Thank you for a stirring conversation. Thank you for great questions and being here week after week as we hit 20 weeks, folks, of the Historical Fencing Guild's live feed. So thank you, and as always, support your local swordmaster.